Hey, Nazis. What's that behind me? Is that the sign of the ZOs? The Zionists? Hey, should we kill them? You fucking retards? You stupid fucking apes. You're going down.
Doesn't even know that they're being targeted, but they are getting, the perpetrators, the hierarchy there is getting a psychological profile on the individual so that they can figure out how best to push their buttons, harass them, get them to get pushed over the edge so they will act out. For instance, if they were to commit a crime against, one of their gang stalkers or commit suicide.
We support our staff in the very, very important work that they do to enhance wellness and increase mental health. And St. Joseph's adopted mindfulness as part of our CULT. Well, it's clear that a growing body of research indicates that mindfulness is an effective way.
Sort of myths about mindfulness is that when you're doing a mindfulness meditation, you sit cross-legged on the floor, you burn incense, and maybe even levitate.
For people, and I think that's what mindfulness does for us, is that ability to kind of reflect what's going on with us and taking the time to do that.
When you think of a very mindful person, it seems like the kind of person you'd like to be.
English.
Walk in the fires of hell. From before the ancient times, we will be and are timeless. In our dark place of worship, creation was made in darkness. Hail, Satan.
One step from lashing out at you. You want to get under my skin and call yourself a friend.
I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Psychological warfare is described by Webster's dictionary as the use of propaganda, threats, and other psychological techniques to mislead, intimidate, demoralize, or otherwise influence the thinking or behavior of an opponent. The Nazis referred to it as the worldview attack.
I speak for the unnamed brave millions homeward bound to take up the challenge of that future which they did so much to salvage from the brink of disaster.
After the Allied victory in Europe of World War II on May 8, 1945, the Office of Strategic Services, the intelligence agency formed during World War II, conducted Operation Paperclip, a program in which over 1,500 Nazi German scientists, technicians, and engineers were smuggled into the United States. President Truman's order concerning Operation Paperclip expressly excluded anyone even remotely associated with the Nazi Party. However, the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, a subcommittee of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, expunged from public record all Nazi Party affiliations in regards to the German scientists. From this exodus of evil sprung a variety of mind control operations. The Central Intelligence Agency succeeded the Office of Strategic Services during World War II as a result of the National Security Act of 1947, which granted the CIA no police or law enforcement functions either at home or abroad to coordinate secret espionage activities against the Axis powers for the branches of the United States Armed Forces. Secretly, Project Chatter was conducted in order to identify agents synthetic and natural that could enhance interrogation. Project Bluebird experimented with the possibility of using humans as mind-controlled warfare agents. CIA Director Alan Dulles was quoted as complaining that they did not have enough human guinea pigs to try these extraordinary techniques. Thus, officially, the MKUltra project was sanctioned in 1953. The project received over $25 million and involved hundreds of experiments on human subjects at 80 different institutions. The first chairman of the World Psychiatric Association, as well as the president of the American and Canadian Psychiatric Associations, psychiatrist Dr. Donald Cameron, creator of the psychic driving concept, was paid $69,000 per year from 1957 to 1964 to carry out MKUltra experiments in Canada for the CIA. His mind-erasing experiments conducted on patients with minor problems such as anxiety disorders and depression without their consent caused long-term damage. But his research also pioneered the CIA's two-stage psychological torture method.
Ewan Cameron, a Scottish psychiatrist with a desire to become a scientific legend. His groundbreaking research in the 1950s hoped to find a cure for serious mental illness, but Dr. Cameron stepped over the line. Secretly funded by the CIA, he brainwashed unsuspecting patients. Perched high on a hill above the Canadian city of Montreal is the Allen Memorial Institute. It was inside this building Dr. Ewan Cameron's bizarre story began. Here, he created a radical program of psychiatric research.
Okay, so I start every class that I teach by explaining to my students my pedagogical approach. I say, my job is to irritate you.
50 years later, former patients are still struggling to cope with their time in the Allen.
I have nightly nightmares where I would wake up screaming. I hear myself screaming, and it was a repeated nightmare.
I say, my job is to irritate you.
Where I see a tall man, and then I have this feeling of the cold on my forehead, which I later learned is the jelly applied where the electrodes go, and I feel the electricity going through my body, and people are holding me down, and then I wake up screaming.
I say, my job is to irritate you.
He was a pillar of psychiatry in North America. He had a tremendous reputation. He had been president of the American Psychiatric Association, the Canadian Psychiatric Association. He was he was like a laird.
By the mid-1940s, Cameron's reputation had spread far beyond the shores of North America. At the end of the Second World War, he assessed whether the infamous Nazi doctor Rudolf Hess could stand trial at Nuremberg. Cameron was a man in demand.
These are the days and hours are the occasions.
The former Glasgow University graduate was to become the first head of the World Psychiatric Association. He was appointed founding director of the Allen Memorial Institute in 1943. It was Cameron's kingdom and became one of the leading psychiatric centers in the world.
He was extraordinarily charismatic.
Even patients like Esther with only mild mental illness were given massive amounts of electroshock therapy.
Okay, so I start every class that I teach by explaining to my students my pedagogical approach. I say, my job is to irritate you.
To get pushed over the edge so they will act out. For instance, if they were to commit a crime against, one of their gang stalkers or commit suicide.
How long since you've been up this road?
40 years ago. I don't know why I've continued to dream about it over a 40-year period. There are just some things in your life that you see you don't forget, and you can't let go of what it did to you.
This is it.
They completely destroyed the site, eh?
It doesn't really matter that the building's not there anymore, because all the memories are still very much alive.
That's where it was, right there. This is a place that destroyed a lot of lives, including mine.
This used to be the Oak Ridge Psychiatric Facility, the place, Jim Motherall says, that ruined his life.
It's so desolate. It's just, they wiped away everything they did.
The old neighborhood.
Old neighborhood.
So the house is gone, eh?
Yeah, the house was right over there.
Jim figures the odds were always against him making it. Born as the result of an incestuous rape, his mother put him up for adoption.
All the abuses and the pain took place right here.
It was never a home. While other young kids were enjoying their childhood growing up in this small Ontario city, Jim faced years of sexual, verbal, and physical abuse.
My mother, in part of her discipline, would, when I was in the bathtub, when I was young, hold my head under the water to show me that she had control, that she could end it any time she wanted to.
By the time he was a young man, the anger in him was deep. First one brush with the law, then a serious assault.
Just walked up to the victim and swung a tire, and just because I was mad. I had a lot of anger inside. I wanted to hurt. I wanted to hurt the world the way I felt that it had hurt me.
In court, the judge sent him here, to the Oak Ridge Division of Penetanguishene's psychiatric facility. Jim Motherall remembers what they told him on his first day.
Okay, you're in Penetanguishene now, and your prison sentence doesn't mean anything here. There's no time limit. We have a program where we buy drugs, and we want you in it. And I had explained that I had never done drugs in my life, and I hadn't. He said, well, that's the deal. You go into the program or you never get out. They had a favorite diagnosis that they gave to everyone, which was to label them psychopaths. It didn't matter if you were a psychopath or not. You got labeled a psychopath because that justified, in their mind, what they were about to do.
Dr. Gary Meyer was one of the doctors involved in the social therapy unit at Oak Ridge. Created in the 60s, it was considered to be cutting-edge treatment, overseen by Superintendent Dr. Barry Boyd in collaboration with Dr. Elliot Barker.
We think the patients have really very great advantages as therapists for each other.
The patients, many of them very young men, would help treat each other in a social therapy program that was, to say the least, unique. Mind-altering drugs like LSD had become in vogue, not just on the street.
The comfort and mental well-being of the patient is considered.
But in other institutions like this one in Saskatchewan, where it was used to try and cure alcoholism,